Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. I'm Blaze, bringing you guys a game between mouz and Fnatic. This is the first game of this best of 3 series, and I'm looking forward to it. These are two great teams, and although we do have a handful of stand-ins up on mouz sports, I think it's still going to be very, very interesting. We see Kurokai helping out as far as picking up his old support role. There's no bad blood there. He was actually acquisitioned between the management, so there was really nothing like him falling out or whatever. It's just him helping out and filling in the role of the support here. Along with that, they still have Alex and PAS, but I believe Black had some network issues, Feta had some illness. It was all kind of last second, and so unfortunately we couldn't push the game back very much further. We offered them a little bit, but it was just too unpredictable in the case of Black, and for that reason, we're just going to proceed on through in this best of 3, and if you can get in a follow-up game, awesome. Otherwise, we'll do what we can. Speaking of people who are absent, it seems that Rainmaker ran into some traffic, so he'll most likely be jumping in on game 2, but for right now, solo casting once more. We just actually finished up a cool match, a best of 3 series between Absolute Legends and 3D Clan, and while I won't spoil it, it was pretty interesting. And so moving on through to this game here, this is going to be interesting, guys. Thank you guys so much for jumping on in to the cast, and hopefully you guys enjoyed as much as I will. But this is going to be pretty interesting. We see, starting off, a Nyx Assassin, Darkseer, Wisp, and Batrider taken off the board, leaving open heroes like the Keeper of the Light, the Magnus. And speaking of, there's the Coddle picked up immediately. One of those more powerful supports that in the laning phase can just make sure the lane is completely under control. It just needs one setup disable, one little stun, a disruption, anything predictable to keep the person in place. And from there, that lockdown sets up a world of damage that is relatively sustainable based on the chakra magic that comes on after the fact. So this will be pretty interesting. I'm excited about this game and pumped. I'm kind of high off the last game, and hopefully we'll get some awesome plays from these guys here as well. Now, I believe that either Kwokova, I'm never going to pronounce that right unless somebody coaches me on it, so I'm just going to go with the best I can. But anyways, either Kwokova or Armen, I believe, is Kurokai's actual replacement, but it hasn't been anything officially announced. So for right now, we're listing this as there are 2 stand-ins for mouz sports. Take that as you will. But Magnus and Lifestealer being drafted up right off the bat, very, very powerful heroes. The AoE control of the Magnus with his reverse polarity can really set the pace of the battle. If you can get good disables on enemy heroes like the Keeper Light, he can't blinding, and from there he can't dish out the damage either. He's also very squishy, and it's just a very powerful teamfight ulti. You get that Blink Dagger up early enough, and whoever picks him up, whether PAS or possibly one of the either Kwokova or Armen, will be able to use that hero very effectively. In conjunction with that, the Lifestealer comes on out to carry it on up, and well, we'll see how that comes on into play, but he's been a really solid pick in the past couple of weeks, and right now up against a Blinding Light, you say why not? He can rage on through that and just stay on target. That's pretty much his objective there. But it does open up Fnatic to pick up this Rubik here. I saw it coming a mile away because Rubik versus a Magnus is a no-brainer. You pick up that reverse polarity, you get that steal off. As long as you're not one of the ones subjected to it, you can send that ultimate right back in the other direction, and it's so powerful. It is going to be really cool. So we'll see what Rubik can come out with in this one here, but they also pick up the Phantom Lancer. Some people call him Cancer Lancer. He gets picked up a lot, and there's a reason for it. He's so powerful. Moves on through the laning phase nicely with the Keeper Light. Good synergy between those two, and once he hits late game, that Empower is pretty much the only thing that's going to keep them on board. Curious to see if they're going to pick up the Gyrocopter, as is mouz sports' kind of prioritization of that hero. Could run Magnus on the off lane, Gyro on the mid, and Lifestealer supported down on bottom, but it would make it difficult for Magnus to survive. So we'll see exactly how that works out. We've also seen Magnus in the jungle, so PAS could take him in that regard and try to do kind of a 3.5-1-0 setup. The reason I say that is because Magnus' skewer gets interrupted by telekinesis. You just time it perfectly, and if Magnus gets thrown up in the air, he is not, and he already used his skewer, he has no way of escaping from the damage from the PL, from the Keeper Light, and that can be very devastating. So right now we do see, like I said, the Gyrocopter going to get picked up, going to be most likely running on the mid lane. We'll have the Lifestealer running either in an aggressive tri-lane or have run on the bottom with Magnus in the jungle or the top. Again, if he runs on the top, it's most likely he's going to be susceptible to First Blood, and that's not the foot that you want to start off on, most definitely. Alrighty then. So, bans coming out, the silencer to start things off. Kind of that counter initiation. Could be very powerful against a Rubik if he gets a good steal or something along those lines, and then suddenly Global Silence hits them hard. Not going to work out for them too much. Also, they're very squishy. 2 intellects, 1 edgy. Right now, they need to get those spells off if they're going to survive. And, of course, Silencer, not really very obliging in that circumstance there. Either way, the bans conclude very, very quickly with Undying, Shadow Demon, the Bounty Hunter, the Queen of Pain, and the Nature's Prophet all taken off the board. A lot of different things to think about for that specifically, but I'll note the fact that Trixie's Prophet did get taken out. Does love to run that Nature's Prophet very, very aggressively, uses a lot of global presence, and can stay mobile and active across the map. That potential with the Keeper Light's recall and the teleport of the Nature's Prophet can be so, so powerful in Trixie's hands, and he's very good at farming up that guy and just making sure that he has tons of high utility items, maybe a mech, maybe a Scythe of Vice, and it's just something they don't want to deal with. Taking it out. Along with that, the mid option of the Queen of Pain, also off the board, and Bounty Hunter, why not? Throw it out there. They need a good offlaner, and he definitely fits the bill there, as all 3 of them do, necessarily. But beyond that, the Gyrocopter is there to try to counteract the Phantom Lancer just a little bit with that flat cannon, with that call down, and from there, as long as Lifestealer doesn't dispel it through using Rage, the Magnus can also impair the Lifestealer to hit really, really hard, really, really quickly, and try to cleave on those illusions down. The question is, what Fnatic does in response to that? They need a little bit of strength initiation of his own. A Brewmaster could be a pretty fun option there, but they actually go for the Beastmaster, and Hani's Beastmaster, I'm not going to call it legendary, but oh my gosh, is it fun to cast. He goes on the solo mid, which is unorthodox for the current meta, I guess you could say. He generally picks up the offlane, but when Hani picks up the Beastmaster on mid, he goes for such an early Boots of Travels that the entire enemy jungle is completely shut down. He goes in, just sends in the Hawk. The Greater Hawk scouts him out. Boots travels to that immediately, and he's there to roar and initiate with effectively global range of himself. It's really, really cool, and I expect that to be what's going to be coming out of this one. Really, really awesome pickup, and I think it works very well against the Lifestealer, against the Magnus. I mean, any opportunity they have to shut somebody down for 4 full seconds, with or without Rage or BKB, is going to be very potent. We see Mousesports picking up a Jakiro in turn. Alex probably going to pick that up himself. Really good on that hero and very familiar with his potential, but it really puts a lot on Mouse that they're going to have to go for skill shots, go for long range, pulling out a position with skewers, ice paths, things like that, because Fnatic can keep their distance. The Roar, the Axes, the Fade Bolt and Telekinesis, even the Illuminate and Lances, all of them are very, very spread out. You can go like 600 range away plus and still send in just a long range of harassment. It does take some mana, but Keeper of the Light's got you covered. So with that kind of a build-up, Fnatic doesn't have to get close in. They don't have to get down and dirty up next to this Jakiro and get ice pathed up like crazy, called down, and the reverse polarity. They can let Mousesports come to them. And with that kind of a team fight presence, with that kind of a build-up throughout their team, they can really go for quick little pickoffs and a really, really frustrating pressure that sends Gyrocopter back to base time and time again. It's just really going to turn out very nicely for them, and I can't wait to see how mobile and how active this beast is going to be. So it looks like they're going to go for maybe an aggressive tri-lane here. They have a Weaver pickup, which is, I mean, I guess he could play kind of like a Clinks as far as that suicide lane goes and just go solo, get experience where he can. But we also see him pretty commonly when he gets 2 good supports. He dishes out tons of damage, and without any sentry wards down, he can be as aggressive as he wants to be. So with 2 good supports like the Rubik and the Keeper Light, they could have the Weaver in the tri-lane, or he could go solo safe lane up against either the Magnus or whatever else Mousesports sends up that direction.
5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Okay, sorry about that. Just making sure we were all set up here and that way, and we're all good. Alrighty then, moving on into the final pick. What does Mousesports want to finish this on out? So this is going to be interesting. Pretty much what they have potential for Mousesports is one of those things they call it the Wombo Combo. It's actually a reference to this really funny Super Smash Bros. Video. But anyways, as far as what we're looking at here, what they can do is if they get a good reverse polarity, they pull them into a tiny tight-knit circle, disable them up for at least 2.5 seconds. They follow that up with a call-down flat cannon, tons of AoE damage, powerful AoE slow, Macro Pyre, the Ice Path, the Dual Breath on top of that, tons and tons and tons of damage, just laying waste to this tiny spot. What they need to do is get them to that point. They have to get those RPs. They need to find the farm of the Magnus. PAS going to do the best he can there, and they're going to just try to find their opportunity. Now, Kurokai is going to be able to pick up this Enchantress and use it very, very aggressively. We talked about how they're going to be keeping at range. With that impetus, you can kind of make them pay for that. If they're going to be, holding you at arm's length, then you're going to just throw that right back at them and dish out a lot of pure damage in turn. So we'll see how well that works out for them. It'll also pressure out really hardcore whoever's on the bottom lane, but that comes down to that question. RMN and Alex going to be on the bottom lane, but who are they going to be up against? Is it going to be Era supported by No Tail and Fly? Is it going to be the Phantom Lancer? I mean, it's a little weird. Defensive tri-lane is generally the most common thing for PL, but I definitely think it's possible. They have so much flexibility in their current lines. And I actually do want to fix one thing real quick before we get on into it, because smooth drag is just such a cool feature. I cannot go without it, and for some reason Dota seems to want to reset it every time I restart, but never mind. So Kokova is going to pick up that gyrocopter. Presumably, like I said, even before he got picked up, I presumed he would go on towards the mid with the Magnus on the offlane. Only true to his role, PAS has drafted him up, and I believe that's how it's going to be. It's just about how Fnatic responds. They're going to have the Beastmaster on the mid lane. They're going to have the Weaver and the Phantom Lancer separate. So it's just if they're going to go for aggressive trialing or just a suicide Weaver. Era wants to farm aggressively. Trixie, here and there. He's okay with it either way. He generally plays the offlane, so I think that means Trixie's going to go safe lane solo. That would leave Weaver, Rubik, Coddle on bottom. Comparing the two tri-lanes, or 2.5 lanes in the sense of mouse sports. You got a Jakiro, you have a Lifestealer. Plenty of presence in that sense, but they really don't have that much follow-up. They get the Ice Path, they get the Open Wounds, but since Ice Path was nerfed, and it only does 25 damage at rank 1, only 50 damage at rank 2, I don't really feel that they have the damage to really put pressure out on the Weaver early, on any of the supports. Speaking of, No Tail and Fly heading up towards the top lane. I'm curious to see if they're just trying to find a little bit of action on the Magnus, who's extending a little bit too far for warding, or if they actually have intention of setting up shop here. It definitely wouldn't hold true to their different player set, but we'll have to see. They have given Era some wards, so it looks like they do actually want to send Era on that offlane, expecting maybe an aggressive tri-lane out of Mouse with that Enchantress going in the Dire jungle. It's hard to say. It's really interesting, but I think that's actually what we're seeing. PAS realizes he's not going to be safe up top. He wants to go for the safe lane. With that, Kurokai is going to have to find some really good creeps in the Dire jungle. He's going to be so reliant on finding out some gank-oriented, high-presence ones like the Dark Troll Summoner, like the Centaur Khan or the Hellbear. And if that is not accomplished, then RMN and Alex are kind of going to be on their own in a position where they need to get kills. Now we do see all three of them setting up shop here, and it's just going to be Era versus one going up against PAS. I think it's a really smooth move on their part because Era is going to dominate that lane hardcore. But we do see right off the bat that Fly is in a bad spot. Ice Path up, RMN will be telling away, stunning out on Kurokai as well. So Fly negates a little bit of damage, but it's just too much. The first blood does come on through, and that gives the really, really aggressive start coming out from Mouse Sports to make this lane happen, to make this work. And we do see an Observer Ward already placed up, providing some nice vision out to the Dire, actually destroying all these trees. Did he Quelling Blade all of those? Yeah, 100%. So just picking away at them, playing the role of the Lumberjack. Trixie going to be able to take cover in that position there. But they know what's coming. They know how much pressure is going to be put out by Mouse Sports, and they just have to respond in kind. Observer Ward here to cover up the camp, and from there they can really, really put pressure out on Trixie that they won't really be able to deal with directly. Beastmaster going for triple branch, single tango. Going to make sure he gets that bottle in no time at all. But with this pooled regen, the single tango from Alex, I think Kvokova is going to have an okay time here picking up his as well. So it'll be an interesting interaction. And when Hani hits level 6, there's some kill potential there. But speaking of, they're actually getting really, really close to where Trixie's at. I'm amazed how comfortable he is in this position. He doesn't want to burn his Doppelwalk this early, but he's happy to deny right in their face. Ice Pass comes out for a couple of right clicks, but it's just a little bit of mana thrown out here and there. No Tail going for a single pull in the easy camp. Happy to be able to just make sure that he is denying out the creep wave as best as possible. And it seems that they have gotten wind of that long term. Regen going to Hani, 2-minute rune of the day. Or actually, no, it's 0 minute. He's very, very happy to be able to set that up for himself and just keep on spamming out those axes. Allows him to last hit long range without actually getting up close and personal. And that sets him up for getting a nice little bottle off of Corey. and set him up for that. And we do see Era going for Shuki, going for the Gemini, actually maxing the Gemini so he can harass PAS hardcore. Despite the Stout Shield that is up on PAS, he can dish out a ton of physical damage with just a couple easy right clicks. And it's going to really just drain on Magnus's resources here, only spending 1 tango just now, but over time it's going to get worse and worse for him. And look at last hits, 11 CS on the Weaver, 8 on the Magnus. So you're really sitting at a position where he's taking control of the game and taking control of the lane specifically. And although Magnus will find some experience and some gold, it's not going to be nearly as much as if he was just going in a standard position on the mid lane. So that'll be an interesting interaction there. Not sure what Armen was playing at there. I guess trying to bait a little bit because Kurokai is smoked up. But Sator's not really going to do the lockdown they need. No-Tail popping off a Telly on both of them. They do get the stuns with open wounds and the enchant, stacking them a bit. Will No-Tail be able to salve on out? Not a chance. Instead, too much damage coming forth, and from there, second kill on the board. This is what they need to keep on happening if Armen's going to be a dangerous presence going on into the mid game. And wow, Trixie, so ballsy the way he likes to farm here. He really wants to make sure he gets every little last hit, and it's paid off so far. 11 CS, and he hasn't been harassed hardly at all. But he just is willing to make sure that he puts those tangos to use, and now he has those tranquils up to keep him sustained very well in the lane. Kurokai finding a wildkin, very frustrating for anybody going up against him, and No-Tail doesn't have as much of a hard camp to work with as far as doing those double pulls. So finding that opportunity there, but this is a siege creep wave, and if you can't pull it to the east, you're not going to really be able to get too much out of it long term, and it looks like Kurokai even wants to mess with that a little bit further, so we'll see how that works out long term. Kokova with a double damage rune. Hani in an interesting position. Him and Fly really closing in on Kurokai, but the fact that he went Inner Beast instead of the Boar means he can't slow him down. Instead, relying on the telekinesis and the right clicks to do the trick here, and just kind of catching him out. Kurokai didn't stand a chance. Just falling back from there, didn't have a TP scroll, and couldn't really do much in that situation. Bottle Crow coming up for PAS, so that's a good position to be in, and really sets him up so that he can actually hold the line against this Weaver, who just wants to keep farming and keep relentlessly putting pressure out, going for even more and more Gemini. I'm curious to see if he ranks up Gemini in this next rank, or if he's going to go on into that Shuki so he can just maneuver around the battlefield more and more. That cooldown reduces at each range. Now down to 8 seconds, he can get those big right clicks in and really frustrate PAS despite the Stout Shield. Trixie getting some hits in on RMN, but really they're drawing the line. They don't want to really overcommit themselves right here. Speaking of, Kokova actually a little bit behind, trying to kill the creep, and instead Hani's going to be able to pick up this illusion rune and mess with him a little bit here. And eventually the homing missile, oh, nice play! Oh, he's not going to be able to kill it. Oh, yeah, it's going to hit him in the face before he gets that last axe right click off. But it was a pretty cool play to use the illusion rune to try to kill the missile that you were sending in your own direction. Good rage from RMN, saves him about half his life from that combo of the Illuminate and the Spirit Lance. But we do see Kurokai back up in the action, only level 2, but willing to just go pretty aggressive here. Kokova pushing back Hani with some DD, and from there, still just kind of holding their positions. They're really kind of the next level factor. If they can get in and get this disable off, they start off with the enchant, follow up with the ensnare, the homing missile en route, and they might be able to get a lot of damage in, but Hani's already bottled up really hardcore. Baiting them in with the magic stick as a defensive TP, actually canceled. I guess he just realized it wasn't necessary as they had already fallen back. And he actually picks up a kill, 56 free gold on the board. So, Hani moving on forward. Look at his GPM. He's sitting nicely at 230 compared to Gyro's 280 though. It is a little bit dwarfed. Yes, put against the Weaver. Knows he has plenty of mana to work with as he bottle crows continuously, and is putting some damage into the tower as well. But Era's not really feeling the hurt of that. He's still sitting at 23S. Will be able to move towards that Lincoln Sphere in no time at all. And when he picks that up, actually doing some more right-click damage here, but once he picks up that, I mean, he could go technically for Vanguard, but I generally don't see that as common. Most people don't regard it as viable. But anyways, going for that Ring of Health, presumably for the Lincolns. If he does pick that up, he can nullify the homing missile, the open wounds, so on and so forth. Armin taking a few hits, but really, as far as actual direct confrontation, there's been a couple of quick pickoffs, and there's been Kurokai out of position once, but beyond that, there hasn't been much happening. Both sides just farming away, trying to find openings, but good warding coming out from both sides negates that concept quite substantially. Nighttime does strike though, and that is going to limit the vision and understanding of enemies flanking on in, specifically Kurokai with double centaurs available. No detection though. Do not have any little bit of detection. Have to pop off the RP, following it with the centaur clap number 1. Number 2, dropping down Era. Too much damage coming in and can't get that time lapse off, and instead gets dropped down. So who needs detection when you have huge amounts of disable and just having a bunch of 4-legged centaur people just clapping down on top of you and really hurts you more, at least in your morale. If not in your wallet, as of course Weaver did lose about 180 gold from that one, if he didn't buy out fast enough. But either way, that is going to put some points on the board for mouz Sports as they're moving in 3 and 1. Now going on Trixie a little bit harder. Arman's going to get some good lifesteal on, and he can't actually invis out of this. No mana available for that Doppelwalk. He's going to take some hard right clicks, and although he won't die, he has to pop off that Tranquil Boots immediately after the fact, or actually a South, yeah, those being broken down. Back on mid lane, damage going to Quokova. He was roared up, and the Illuminate will follow on through, but it's just not enough to stay on target. They're doing some good stun action. The call down will come, but it's pretty much just both of them not wanting to jump in too far, dancing around in circles, and we need to see this homing missile drop down pretty quick, or Honey will take a little bit of damage. It looks like Quokova's ranking up that missile to only rank 1, and from there he's not going to be able to do too much damage and not be that much of a threat. Era moving in, I guess for an Aquila in conjunction with that Tranquils. We'll see how that works out for him. But I like how Fly and No Tail are transitioning towards the mid. They know that for the most part, that the top lane is secured here. Trixie setting up 44 last hits for himself. Aquila in the bank. Really, really moving on forward. I think he'll be in a good position in no time at all and be able to move in towards bigger and better items like the Diffusal very, very quickly. Arman actually transitioning down bottom. Curious to see what he's going to be able to accomplish here. Picking up the Helm of the Iron Will, moving in towards the Armlet of Mordigium. He's going to have a lot of potential in the near future, but for the moment, he is kind of just playing defensively, building up that way. No Tail pulling for that telekinesis. Big damage coming out from the Illuminate, but I don't think there's really enough to really keep him on his toes. He has the call down available. Hani, although he has the roar just coming up, is mostly focused on the runes right here. So it really comes down to vision. Who has that potential to actually get those big disables off, use those ultis, use the damage output, and stay on top of things. Long term, what we're looking at is kind of a dual core setup. Actually going for a PAS, gets a double polarity off on No Tail and Fly. They're both going to get shredded inside this call down, and it's going to be a double kill for Quokova with a single ultimate. Really, really nice maneuver there. Perfect timing for PAS, popping off polarity, and it's a very efficient usage of those abilities. Now going for Enchant, looking for the Ice Path to follow. He does have enough slow, but the roar comes out. Kurokai can't do it. The Ice Path misses. Homing missile, long range, but Kurokai, range creep, actually bringing him down to 4 HP before he salves on out. Oh, man. Either way, Hani popping off the roar, able to survive, has that regen rune intact as well, so he can do some harassment damage to Quokova, and he's dropping quick. Illuminate coming on out, and it's almost enough Magic Wand, keeping him up, but just the sliver of HP. No Tail wants him, but he TPs out of vision, and the enchant keeps No Tail out of the action. Now, going for another Illuminate, hoping that he's still in there, but it's too little too late. Oh, that was a really interesting exchange. They're playing so aggressive and so cautious at the same time. It's just like this little yin and yang interactions, but in the end, not too many kills on the board. 5 in favor of mouz Sports. They play the reverse polarities very, very effectively for 3 of the kills, actually. And so that's going in towards the Jakiro, the Gyrocopter, and the Enchantress. But in general, it's just making it so that they can kind of get this nice little gold advantage, starting things off, moving in towards 750, but it's still back and forth. Same thing to say about the experience. So it's rickety-rockety, and I'm not sure who's going to have an advantage going on further, but one thing to keep in mind is the big items that are going to be coming out as a result. If Magnus skips this Arcane Boots, moves in instead just straight for that Blink Dagger, they can initiate hardcore. We've already seen what PAS can do with just a rank 2 or 3 skewer. Now we're seeing what he can accomplish with a lot more than that. So Hani picking up and controlling the runes nicely. Boots of Travel is almost up if that's what he wants to rush, which I'm pretty certain is the case, but we'll have to see. But when we talk about I was talking about the dual core aspect of this lineup here. We have Era farming nicely on the Weaver, sitting at 48 CS. That's 283 GPM. Has the Aquila, moving in towards Treads, probably towards Lincoln's long term, even though I'll admit there's really not that much to nullify. Like Enchant, Open Wounds, Homing Missile, they're annoying, but they're really not make or break. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But could just go for a Hood. I could honestly see that working out pretty well. A lot of the damage is magical, and they have the call down, they have the Magnus Ultimate and Shockwave, and all the follow-up from Jakiro, as I mentioned before. I think the Hood would probably be the best course of action, and most likely what he's going to be looking on into in the near future, because I just don't see the Lincolns being that beneficial in this situation. Either way, we do see him building up core items, and that's what's most important, is if he can be staying survivable, he can use his time-lapse very effectively in a fight to give him effectively 2 full health bars, and also just stay mobile and active. Actually, he's using some Swarm Harassment or RMN, but the action is mostly going to be up on top. No Tail does not have spell steal yet. Holy crap, he's level 3. Wow, so much roaming coming out of No Tail. He's done some pulling, he's done some roaming, but to no real long-term impact. He has 63 experience per minute, and although that means he's not leeching from the Phantom Lancer, who's sitting at 380, that also means that he is not able to really contribute much in these big fights. So I was talking about the RP, getting some mobility, a 4-staff or a blink, and counteracting Magnus entirely with that Rubik pick. But if you don't have spell steal, that's not going to be a factor. And along with that, of course, you can't even dream of getting for a null field long term. So, it's interesting. It's really, really interesting. Now we see Trixie TPing out. Good maneuver there. Actually just TP into the tier 2. Nice, safe, and sound, but just knew they were coming in overwhelmingly. Actually, there was a Sentry Ward here, so Era has to watch himself. PAS coming on in. RP onto Fly. Is it enough, though? They get the kill on the Jakiro already. The Jakiro Light drops down as well. They don't have Telekinesis, though, and PAS wisely TPing on out as a response to that. Now coming on through Hani, looking for Aurora on Kuro, or just a couple right clicks. Knows it might not be necessary. With a simple Boar, could have that coming. The homing missile will close its distance long term, but Kurokai has already fallen. That's like that 4th missile he's face tanked, but it's not that big a deal for him. Kvokova heading back towards the mid lane, finishing off this tower real quick. Double damage coming into this tower. It is really, really quick damage for him, and No Tail level 4. He's just trying to thwart him, but it's too little too late. Hani still has that roar available. He does have those boots of travels as well, but really, what can he accomplish? Even if he gets the roar off, he doesn't have the damage follow-up. He relies on the PL, he relies on the Weaver to accomplish that for him, and although that'll work out nicely in the mid, for right now, it's not very fortunate for them. It's going to be long-term, taking some time. We do see Arcane's actually picked up for the Magnus, so he's going to be moving in towards Blink Dagger in no time at all. But until that point, he is having some limitations as far as his mobility. He has to use his skewer every time to initiate, and that kind of negates a little bit of his initiation range as well as his danger. As I think, honestly, although the RP is extremely powerful, skewering the enemies that you just RP'd into an even worse position is even better, especially if you can coordinate that with the call down of the gyrocopter and the Jakiro's action there. Either way. Armen farming up nicely, but he's still a decent bit off of that armlet, unless there's something on the core I don't know about. Indeed, no, he is waiting for that little bit there. I think it's like 950 gold total as far as the items that he still requires. Trixie, slowing down a little bit as far as his rate of farm. He has been doing extremely well up to this point. We see him at 80 CS, 29 denies. He's had great control, but suddenly they start putting pressure out, and mouz makes a very, very deliberate decision saying we need to shut out this PL. He has 4.2 agi gain. He's almost to his diffusal blade. We can't have that. So they start pushing on the tier 1. They start putting this damage in, but in turn, Fnatic just jumping down on tier 1 bottom. If they can use the Weaver to continuously split push by making him as beefy as possible, they can get some big benefits. But now we see PAS jumping in on Ani, bursting him down with the help of RMN. So despite the roar, Ani will take a fall here, and that's just too much coming on in. We do see a nice Illuminate, but it's not going to really do much more than frustrate them as they clean things up, take the kill on the Beastmaster, and now get the deny on the tower. That's really big. Taking a last hit on the tower, getting a deny on the other one, means that they are in full position to control the map and also control the gold graph. The sense that they shaved off about half the gold that would have been gleaned from that tower kill really, really puts them in a better position item-wise, sets up the Jakiro for a mechanism much faster than that Keeper Light. So we see Kurokai going for a Jerome long term. That'll help him out nicely to have his entire team stay on target. But if you're roared up, you're going to have problems with that. The last hit coming out for Lifestealer to finish off this tower, he has that armlet. So although he does take a lot of damage from that Illuminate, he's willing to still just shamble on in there and try to deliver some right clicks. He's very, very aggressive in this position here, but might want to rethink that strategy as we do see Fnatic jumping on in with this smoke. And that's going to make it so that they can easily get a pick off on one of the lowly jungle farmers here. Flanking on in, No Tail. I think he had vision range of Kurokai, but of course not the other way around with that smoke active. So we'll see how it pans out, but the Hawk is going to be the main thing. The Hawk is going to scout. Just check out Radiant Vision, Dire Vision. But anyways, Rarman is the target. Doesn't really matter. He can't get his armlet off just yet. His rage will expire. Telekinesis to follow. No, he infests inside the boar. There's 26 seconds left on the summon. They actually just let him burst out, and he's going to drop. He doesn't stand a chance unless he does the best armlet toggle of his life. Not even one little bit of chance. I'm not sure why he jumped out of that. He didn't have to, as far as I could tell, unless I'm missing something. But either way, So we're going on in. We see Hani and Era going on Kurokai right here. They have the axes on top of the urn. A couple right clicks will do enough to finish it off right here. And yeah, he's already dead. That is just good play. And using that Hawk Scout, that's what I'm talking about, wherever I can find it. Yeah, hiding invisible, but this Greater Hawk makes a huge difference in how these ganks kind of play on out. We do see Kokova scouted out by the observers up top. The Radiant have a couple of their own in this position, so it's very well controlled on both sides, but that Beastmaster Hawk is something that they don't really have anything to respond to just yet. If they don't have full eyes on it, it's going to be able to actually just stay in a good, clean area for Hani to control the map and make sure they're not farming in their jungle. One thing that Fnatic has not taken care of, though, is these stacks. They are not really contesting it, they're not warding it, and so Gyrocopter, Kokova will be finding some farm there in no time at all, and that will help him move in towards his BKB very quickly. Rubik finally picking up enough levels to get the spell steal available, and from there we'll be able to pick up some cool things like the reverse polarity or the call down, and I think there could be some really cool action from there. But interesting build from Kurokai. Looking at this skill build, I've seen it before, but maxing the enchant, caring less about nature's attendance. They don't want to worry about healing. They'll say, Jakiro gets a mech eventually. What I want right now is stats for my HP, my mana, and also so he can do more impetuses, so he can stay more alive when he's getting pressured by the PL and the Weaver, so on and so forth. But we see Hani jumping in with the TP on the Hawk, and he's going to go for the Roar immediately. Do they have the follow-up, though? Axes come out. He has the earn damage over time. No nature's attendance means he's down. Good pick off by Hani. Had that haste turn effective, too, so no real risk to him at all. And actually, we get a spell steal. No Tail picking up a flat cannon. Not the best thing to have, but, you know, get that cooldown rolling so you can use 2 spells in the middle of a fight. Will help out nicely, and Hani finding more opportunities to telekinesis on Alex. Call down is beautiful. The RP as well, PAS, completely cleaning this up. Era is going to be able to time-lapse back to full, and Hani's still back in the action, but that was an amazing RP. Kokova taking some damage output on to Hani with this rocket, with the barrage. They're actually able to bring him down, and that is a triple go for Kokova. Just completely set up by an unexpected blink out of the Magnus. He got it at a perfect time. Only recently, actually just purchased it as far as that text shows, but he used it to great effect. Immediately jumped in the mid-fight, immediately cleaned it up with a double instant RP, and although they didn't get the Weaver, as he's just a little too tanky, and he had that time-lapse available, they still cleaned up on 3 heroes and gave Kokova a ton of farm. Speaking of farm, Trixie pushing up on top tower. He's bringing it down to 250 HP, should be able to finish it outright. And that's finally putting an actual tower kill on the board. That's the first tower that they haven't been denied, and that really helps them out in trying to actually bring this down to 0. Gyrocopter finishing up that BKB, and that triple kill being instrumental in making sure he has that utility available. 10 seconds is going to be a long time that he's not having to worry about the disables other than the Beastmaster. The Keeper Lights, mischance, telekinesis, what have you, is not going to be a factor here. Gyro is going to be able to fight, and he's going to be able to fight very aggressively. Speaking of, PAS wanted to go on the Keeper Light, but they need a little bit better understanding of what's going on over there, because Hani could be lurking anywhere. The Boots of Travels makes him a terror threat, even when you have a vision of him on the map, because anywhere that Hawk could be, and that means he can always jump in on the fight, or theoretically anyways. Along with that, the recall of the Keeper Light means 3 seconds later, that's going to be the same for any other hero besides the Beastmaster. So you see 2 or 3 people, but you're not going for the 2 or 3 man pickoff. You see actually 5 coming out. No Tail gets the Ice Path. There goes the Roar. Alex is going to get picked off here. Big damage coming out, and that is completely eviscerating him. No chance at all. Killing spree for Era. He's moving on up to 3-1-3, and that sets him up for some really nice farm. Actually, specifically, he has 3,700. Is he actually going for the Radiance? I'm curious if he wants to go for a Radiance build here. It's a great item on Weaver. It just, I haven't seen it in a while because it's such a late, it's like a, I don't know. People want to put more pressure out in team fights in the early game, and Radiance is amazing on Weaver, but you generally just don't get that window of opportunity. There's too much pressure coming out. But now the H's is going to come on through, and we'll have to see what he ends up going with. A little bit of overreaction coming out to the Satyr, but there is Magnus with that Infest inside PAS, looking for something, but gets stunned up through the Ice Path. Telekinesis on through, looking for an RP, but no blink available. However, Roche is sitting at 1,100 HP. Counter initiation coming on through. No, the wrong vector on the Illuminate means that RMN will claim the Sages, or at least the Gyrocopter will. So they get it, the Gyrocopter picks it up. Era, a little bit too late. RMN armlet toggling, and the only casualty right now is the Jakiro. PAS wants more. He still has that RP. Wants to really sock it to No-Tail right here. Going in, he wants to focus on perfect triple. Oh my gosh, needs the flat cannon damage to follow up through. He gets it. Nice skewer, nice damage output. Era taking a lot, has to fall back with the Shuki. And Quokova on low life, but at best, he's going to pop off that Aegis. Beetle is dropping quickly, and Quokova survives with 20 HP. Trying to follow on through. Era and Trixie trying to go on in, but she drops too low with the shockwave. Here comes Hani. Big roar. Disabling on PAS. Finishing off the gyrocopter. They're going to try to clean this up in full. Era has that time lapse. Brings himself back up, and they're going to be able to clean this up too. Borslow is too strong here. He cannot escape from this. He will go a very long time. Actually, he does have the TP. Is enough damage? No. Oh, good move by him. No stuns available between Phantom Lancer, Weaver, and a Roar CD Beastmaster. Quokova just able to pop off that scroll and say sayonara. So that was really slick. And on both parties, I mean, the cleanup was really smooth. I feel bad for Fnatic for not being able to pick up that gyro. But the way that played out, with Rubik having that spell steal still available, what Magnus 100% had to do was catch Rubik in the polarity. The Rubik was here, the Magnus jumped on in here, and was able to catch all three in a perfect opportunity. No, the call down didn't hit, but the flat cannon damage was sufficient to bring them down, and the BKB kept them alive long enough to do it. So, really cool. They did lose the Aegis. The retaliation did come from Fnatic nicely, but in general, I gotta say, mouz just shattered that team fight, at least by the fact that they were able to take the Aegis and the Roche as well, even if that's now been lost to the ground. So, Desolator picked up for Weaver, was saving up for a long time, decided not to go for the Ratty, and although it is a great item, like I said, it just doesn't really fit in this current meta, the current pace of the game. All these early skirmishes, you can't really just play cat and mouse with Weaver all day long, or Bug and I don't know what bugs are afraid of. I guess cats still, technically. Whatever. But, yeah, it looks like Phantom Lance is going to be moving in towards a Manta style long term. Has the Yasha, the Diffusal Blade, and the Tranquils to support it. So he just needs a little bit of durability. And the nice thing about Manta is it will give him some reliable illusions to work with. He can throw out one Lance, maybe Doppel, just to get a second illusion up, and then pop off the Manta for a couple more. And that's going to help him out nicely. We do see, actually, Enchantress trying to steal up one of those, but not getting too much long term out of it. The one thing I want to talk about, we do need a quick pause from RMN, but that gives me plenty of opportunity to talk about the mechanisms that have yet to come up from, I believe, either side. Yeah, Keeper Light has a headdress, same with Jakiro, but they haven't really found that much farm. They die pretty early in the team fights, so right now, the Jakiro is sitting at level 6, the Keeper Light at level 9, a little bit better in that situation, but let's look at their GPM. Relatively the same. The 159 on the Jakiro, 190 on the Keeper Light. It's a pretty big difference there, still favoring the Coddle, but one thing is that they don't really have that much more to show for it. He's buying so many wards that when you look at net worth, you're actually seeing this Jakiro pretty much neck and neck. 300 gold, that's nothing. So in this situation, Jakiro is so far away from a mechanism, and so is the Keeper Light. That means that pretty much what that means is that the damage is permanent in the middle of a fight. The only exception to that is the time lapse of Weaver. But without Nature's Attendance, which I guess is now being skilled up ×2, but the fact that there are no mechanisms means that any damage that is received is going to make a big impact on the fight. They have to buy back and TP in just to get a second wind. So from this position, it means that the person who initiates first and deals the most damage right off the bat in the first few seconds of the fight will generally be the victor. Because with a big RP, with a big roar, you can shred somebody so quickly that even if you don't kill them, they're going to be limping away on such little HP that their contribution is rendered 100% useless. So I'm curious to see how this will pan out in other team fights. Like I mentioned, they like to keep the enemy at arm's length in general. Like, they have such long-range harassment that it's going to be more and more difficult for PAS to get good RPs off, especially if he's trying to include the Rubik 100%. But we'll see. I think that PAS is still one of those great players who can find opportunities where most people don't see them. Desolator doing some damage to Quokova, and in a duel, in a 1v1, easily the Weaver is going to have an upper hand. Era setting up nicely to move in towards his rank 3 time lapse, and does a ton of damage to towers and players with that Geminate and that Desolate. So pretty much going for an item that provides attack damage and an extended armor reduction debuff. It's one of the few things that helps out the Geminate just as much as it does his primary. And it's a good, very solid pickup that will also make sure PL is doing a lot of damage. Alrighty then, so next move we see that PAS has that Infest up active. He really, really wants to just go for a big Nex bomb, blink on, pull them in with the polarity, dish out a ton of damage, and I think he's going to be able to accomplish that pretty effectively. Era is kind of high, on his high horse right now. He's very... I wouldn't say he's an arrogant player. I'm just saying, as a Weaver that has gotten to this point, you think, okay, well, there's very little that can actually stop me before I can get that time lapse off. And from there, if they don't have good detection, as they haven't really shown their geometry sight just yet, then you feel confident that you can just escape on out of there. You're a great hero in that regard. And in this position, that is complete falsity. The fact of the matter is, if they commit a single big cooldown, if they commit a cooldown during an Ice Path, if they commit an RP solo, they're going to be able to pick off this Weaver, and that's a lot of damage off the table for the next engagement. So they have to play cautiously, but if we're talking about late game scalability, although the RP will always remain prevalent, as long as Fnatic doesn't get completely shut down by PAS, the Weaver and Phantom Lancer dual carry aspect, the dual core mindset they have here, is gonna really, really profit them long term. Enchantress can dish out some damage, Gyrocopter and Lifesteal are the same, but they're all getting their own individual amounts of farm. You check the net worth. You see two, out of the top three, two of them are Fnatic. They're prioritizing farm on the PL, on the Weaver, whereas with Mousesports, they're separating between the Gyrocopter, the Lifestealer, and then Kurkai's playing hard support, so he's not getting much farm. Impetus is damage, but it's not scalable. So, long term, I think what this means here is that unless Fnatic gets hardcore RP, like we're talking 3 or 4 man RP, I think that long term they can take this game, and they just need to hold out that much more longer. But PAS and PAS and RMN are the two that don't want that to happen. They want to blink in, they want to play aggressively, but there's so many different places to be. There's top lane, Era's constantly split pushing there. There's pressure coming out from Hani, who can boots or travels wherever he needs to. So it's very difficult to actually focus on the target they intend, and they're gonna, as long as there's good warding coming out from Fnatic, that can be completely thwarted to the point that nobody's at risk.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
RMN TPing on in. Really, again, still no real risk to Hani here. At worst, he has to pop his roar off so he can get a secure boots of travels. But in general, they're all in a good position where they can manage themselves appropriately. And PS does blink away, but that Swarm is still taking damage and reducing his armor over time. Synergizing nicely with the Desolator, I might add, because that when they hit below 0 armor, they actually start taking amplified physical damage, a percent-based increase. That can really, really bring some pain in. Speaking of Kurkai, a single lance brings him down to 3/4 HP, half the pop-up attendance, and that's a cooldown that is something you want to hang on to. Definitely long-term. I love this flank by Hani. This is going to be an opportunity to go in this middle lane, bring down Alex before they even stand a chance. They have vision from the Hawk. Actually starting things off, we do see Kokova actually getting a monster kill streak on the Weaver. Setting up for that kill there. Weaver has to buy back. Sorry I missed that, but now we're going to see pressure on the mid lane, and the deny is going to be forthcoming. No. Phantom Lancer gets that kill. RMN in a bad spot. Infest stolen by the Rube. They get the pick off onto Kurkai. Now looking for RMN. He is roared up, earned down, and although he has the armlet, he's going to try to TP. He is going to get on out. Oh my gosh, that's so low. 200 and some damage, barely surviving. That is incredible. They was able to get on out. I'm curious what happened on top lane. They did commit the RP. They committed the RP solo on him, and then Magnus was able to get on out of there. So they committed the RP, and like I said, when you're playing Weaver and you think that you're that survivable because of those two tools, then it's going to be difficult to really, really work things around. The reason time-lapse is on cooldown here is not because he was able to use it from the verse polarity, but it's because Era bought back and used the time-lapse immediately after the fact. Cool trick, but pretty much it takes you back to where you were 4 seconds ago, so if you just respawned, you can be back in the action and trying to clean things up. But in this case, a little late to the party, it was really Hani setting up the successful kills here, but unfortunately missing the pickoff on RMN. Alright, so pretty much that is what we are looking for, and we're seeing the pause come on out. We had a small issue here, sorry. Didn't talk too much during this pause, but I think your ears need a little bit of a reprieve as well. But anyways, this is really cool. This fight is back and forth, 1500 gold advantage, 3k experience advantage. It's moving the way of Fnatic. They are making a comeback for sure. The one thing that they have to make sure is that when this RP is back up, that they are very mindful and respectful of it, because otherwise they're going to get locked down pretty hardcore. Alex, speaking of, is taking a lot of damage here, and just enough damage coming on through. PAS does get that skewer on back. Now putting some damage into Trixie. He's going to drop down. Nice infest on the board to clean him up as well. No Tail gets a nice ice pass, but it's all they can do to disengage. Just trying to fly on out of there. No Tail dropping quick. Okay, he's out of there. No problem at all. So good uses of TPs across the board. Both teams doing that effortlessly to make sure that they don't get stunned on out and just head back on home with that 3-second delay. Mechanism up on fly. Compare that to Jakiro, who is completely down in the dumps. He is at the bottom of the barrel. He's, however you want, he's hit rock bottom. As a support, he's sitting at 1900 in 29 minutes. So he's effectively, when you consider all his consumables, less than 100 gold per minute by far. Like, he's like probably closer to 70 or something like that. I'm not going to bother with the math. The point is, he's putting so much into wards. He's putting so much into sentries. He doesn't have arcane boots. He has magic wand and a headdress, and that mechanism is not going to come online anytime soon. So he is not useless, because Ice Path is still very prevalent throughout all parts of the game, but he has to always be on the back end of things. He doesn't get to just jump in on the front line, get some really cool spells off, jump that Macropyre on. Actually, he hasn't really even used Macropyre that I've seen, because he's just so vulnerable. With 1k HP, no mechanism, he doesn't have nearly as much utility as he would prefer. We see Magnus coming in for that level 16, and when that RP is up at rank 3, it can dish out a ton of disable, ton of damage, but they're kind of actually halting that in his tracks. Hani coming in for the roar, but the blink comes through from PAS. Sees the Hawk, knows what it means, and he's on out of there before they can even say a word, quite literally with the Beastmaster. So nice play there. And now we have Gyrocopter picking up the Mantis down, using a little bit more damage output there, and of course the stats all the more helpful to be able to dish out a ton of damage. So we see that there is going to be some action coming out from No Tail, looking for some, probably a Force Staff or a Blink Dagger for himself. If he can get a really good RP off, that's really, if he gets one good RP this entire game, then he pretty much makes his pick and his role useful. Like, all he has to do is get one good, maybe 3-man reverse polarity. If he can accomplish that, the Rubik pick in the draft and his action, and no matter how slow his experience gain, was well worth it, because Rubik is such a great hero in the laning phase, supporting up nicely, and now if he can just get that one steal, that one blink or Force Staff, they can find a great spot to start things off. RMN looks for a big item, but if he does go all in for something, he won't have buyback available. It does cost him quite considerably to drop down now. His death cost it constantly keeps on going up and up as he increases his level, and along with that, he only is sitting on 2,500 himself. So they're going to look to make something happen here, but right now Fnatic aren't being baited on in. They have the Ice Path to give them vision of Roche and when they want to personally initiate, and they also have this long-range Keeper Light action. So the only thing they have to worry about is PAS linking up to the high ground and skewering him into the pit, and instead he's just going to be able to frustrate them with a lot of kills on the damage on the illusions and on the individuals themselves. Still willing to go for it, though. They're going for that open wounds. Just doesn't even bat an eyelash. Just shrugging it off and going on forward. They're going to be able to keep on going on through. Kokova pulling out some damage, and now we see the action coming on through. RMN on low life gets roared up. Hani going to be able to dish out too much damage. He can't toggle the armlet. Oh, he gets the infest off. He is in and escape with triple polarity. The skewer comes on out. PAS completely wiping this through with godlike spree for Kokova. Oh my gosh, this combo between Magnus and Gyrocopter is exactly what they need. And now they clean up Roshan, no problem at all. That infest from RMN. Arma toggles the Weaver. He has the time lapse away. Trixie on the run as well. Oh my gosh, they've done this perfectly. They baited with RMN. Hani got a beautiful roar off, and then they all had to cluster down this tiny, tiny ramp to go on in, and that was, again, their demise. This happened like 10 minutes ago, but it happens yet again with PAS getting another amazing reverse polarity and Gyrocopter just blowing it apart. They can't contest Roche at this state. They tried to do it with the Keeper Light. They tried to wait until RMN was just low enough, and then they would roar him up and burn him down. But first of all, we've just seen that they don't need the Lifestealer to actually make this happen. And second of all, he got the infest. He got in a free armored car that he's just going to hang out in until the fight is over, and RMN walks away. So, looking at this swing, oh my gosh, Fnatic, we're in such a commanding lead. 3k, but it plateaued out. The Roche came on through, and look at that experience swing. All the way back up in favor of Mousesports, to almost to 2k. They're in a great, great spot, and that doesn't seem like they have any signs of slowing. Not going to talk about that. I've talked about the bucklers and mechanism timing a lot, so I'm not going to bother you with that one there. But as far as Lifestealer and his current option, he's looking for a AC. He's going for an Assault Cuirass, and I think that's exactly what they need. If they can get an AC out and Gyrocopter can get some big flat cannons with this Demon Edge, whatever it may be, could technically even be a Divine, but he doesn't have the lifesteal to really support it, and now he's actually taking a lot of damage from Trixie. Like, every time he comes on the lane, he has to actually pop off spells to try to burn down those illusions, because they self-propagate pretty quickly now with rank 3 Phantom Edge. Anyways, the Gyrocopter, if he goes for something big, I mean, he can go for Daedalus, he can go for probably MKB is his best option, as both Weaver and Phantom Lancer are known for their butterfly antics. But either way, I think that the Gyrocopter will be able to dish out a ton of damage, and now they just need to reduce the enemy's armor. The AC does just that. It's actually the only thing in the game that will do that. And from there, if they can just get a little bit more physical damage, they can really, really compete on a higher level with the amount of physical output that Flat Cannon provides. And of course, helping that out with the Empower, giving it a bit of a nudge in the right direction there, as well as setting it up with the RP. All they need is PAS to really just rock and roll in these team fights, and it's worked out for them so far. No Tail has no steals just yet, just taking too much damage from that Flat Cannon. Every single right click he sends his towards the tower, it's going to go his direction as well, and that's just too much for him to handle now. The tower going to drop, the backdoor protection having expired, and they're going to be able to get something out of this, that's for sure. At least the tier 2. And then they fall back from there, because they don't need to stay in this position. They take a tower, they get some control, they fall back and farm. And that formula has worked for them very, very nicely now, as they're still in a commanding lead in terms of experience. That's just a ridiculous game. Ridiculous how that team fight just makes it happen for them every single time. Anyways, the Lifestealer going to be able to pick up that AC relatively soon. I mean, I think he's got about 800 gold or something along those lines left to work with here. But it's not going to be too much longer unless he... Okay, I don't think he had the components just yet. So he sold them back, but not a big deal. Either way, Smoke Gang coming on in. This is where they need to kind of change the pace of the game. They were doing really well with the Boar, with the Hawk, roaming around the jungle and using it for an initiation tool of Hani to jump on in. He has an Aghanim Scepter, reducing the cooldown of the Roar down to 45 seconds, added a higher range of initiation. He has like really, really high range, and he can therefore make sure that he always has it available in fights, and possibly even getting a second one off if the fight goes for an extended period of time and they started off with it in the first place. So, good utility, but we see the MKB come out from Gyro, and that means the Blinding Light won't be a factor. He doesn't even have to Manta out of it now, can use his Manta prior to the blinding, and still dish out a ton of damage. So he has the BKB, MKB, and both of those providing a lot of base damage, setting him up so that he is actually sitting now at 250 some odd. And it's crazy, but speaking of, Trixie doing a lot of damage here. Call down, trying to turn things around with the Ice Path, and Trixie taking a lot of damage, will drop down. Good counterattack, and yeah, just Alex standing back just a little bit, knowing that just that little tiny stun can set things up where Kokova can easily dish out the damage he needs to on him. Hani coming back in, but it's a little too late. Their hard carry is down in the grave, and he's going to lose out on a little bit of gold per minute. Was jumping up to 500 there, but it's going to fall short now that he is spending 45 seconds thinking about what he's done. Kurukai trying to get some durability. Not really happening thus far, but the drum is helping out a little bit here and there. I'm surprised I haven't actually warded this high ground just yet. I think that's something Alex should be looking towards now, but with observers in the stash, they're just going to hold the line for the moment, and we'll see how it works out on this tier 2 pressure. Coming on through Kokova on low life, but still has that Aegis. Speaking of timing, they only have about a minute and 20 seconds left on that Aegis until it expires, and they have to use it soon. Kokova needs to play aggressively, or just tank up a couple Illuminates. It works out as well, so he'll take a Fade Bolt right here, or Tower Attack. He's in an odd position, though. If Hani goes for a big roar, they could actually try to make something happen, but the PL is down for 8 seconds. Telekinesis to start things off. Will they go for it here? They don't want to get RP'd. It's all about positioning here. And now they just go for the tower. They're just saying, could care less. They have the Manta-style illusions tanking a bit, and they're just dishing out a ton of damage in turn. So nice maneuver there, but meanwhile, down and bottom, Era doing that split push thing, and he does get TP'd on by the Lifestealer. Armin going to hold the line here, and it looks like it's just going to be a quick recall back from the Weaver. They actually want to try to counter-initiate, but they don't have vision just yet. Where's the Hawk? Hawk is here. Hani is raring to go. They're going to start this off without Armin in the fray. If they can pick up Gyrocopter here, it's going to be huge. Looking for that roar. They have the range. They get the damage in. Nice Ice Pass, though, up the high ground from Alex. But Kokova is still locked in place. Is there telekinesis? All they need. He's going to TP out again. Oh, my gosh. Every single time. They don't say one tiny disable. They might as well get a basher. I mean, I don't even know. Like, every single time. Telekinesis on cooldown. Roar used in the first place. It's just so frustrating. Because they just... pull out a piece of paper, and suddenly they're home free. Oh, they shouldn't let that happen. They should not let that happen because those are big picks. I mean, Gyrocopter is net worth at 18.4k. I mean, at least trying to force out some buyback money would be extremely, extremely helpful for them to be able to push on out. But instead, the timing was perfect. RMN TP'd back. They recalled Weaver. They were ready to go. But when Hani got the roar off, Alex got a nice ice path, walks away, and leaves the gyro to just scroll out. Oh my gosh. That 135 gold is worth its weight in like tens of thousands right now. I don't know. It's just ridiculous how that is paid off over and over for the Lifestealer, for the Gyrocopter. It just keeps happening, and I don't expect that to be stopping anytime soon because Hani needs to use that roar. He needs to use that roar to initiate every single time. And as much as Ag reduces the cooldown, it's not going to help in that situation. They need some kind of hard lockdown. And we'll see if Trixie just ends up going for maybe an MKB himself. Maybe to counteract a gyro for the butterfly, but we'll see. Either way, that's another missed opportunity, another missed kill, and mouz will push up towards the top lane to put pressure out in that regard. Let's check out some items again. It's been a while. We see the AC coming out for Lifestealer. He doesn't have buyback, but it doesn't feel he needs it if he could just help the gyro dish out the damage. Speaking of, with that Helmet Dominator, he's home free to go for whatever item he may choose, even if they may boost his damage by 300 at a very great risk to himself. Not that he needs to. That would be a risky play if they're on the ropes, if they're on the back end of things, but they're taking back control. You see the gold, you even more so see the experience. They have this game in a good position here. We do see Telekinesis on RMN, blinking on away, nice maneuver from the Rubik, but it's just going to delay them a little bit. Without a fortification, I'm popping it off now, they're having trouble holding the tier 3. More action coming out. Actually, this is just an illusion. Nothing happening there. Flat Cannon coming out from Kokova, though. Burning down the tower, putting pressure onto the individuals they're in. What is going on there? Heart of Tarrasque recipe. Trixie, what are you doing? Get your heart. Get your heart, man. Anyways, one thing to mention is that Era, I was looking down there a second ago, but never mind. Era is in the base. He's pushing on in, and he's completely destroying them. And they're not responding. They're hesitating, and this moment of hesitation, canceling out the TP. There is a recall. They waited for 1 or 2 TPs. They got one, but then they canceled it. So everybody here is here, 5v5, and the brawl is about to happen. mouz Sports really want this 5v5. They need this 5v5 because the range racks are going to fall to creeps. They need to win this and take at least one for themselves. With the tier 3 down, they can make something happen here. They have their heart on Trixie. We'll have to see if it's enough. Mechanism up on Jakiro. They're raring to go. Baited out a little bit by the illusion, but the timing needs, they need to act. mouz Sports cannot just keep on holding there. The creeps keep on pushing in. They start to make their move, looking for just a tiny opening. The Pipe of Insight comes out, initiating on No-Tail. He gets shredded immediately. As far as buybacks go, they do have that. No, not at all. He's gonna just get dropped down permanently, and now the racks have fallen, both melee and range, and they have controlled the base. They have the run of the mill. They're gonna bring down the creeps and transition in towards the mid lane. Look for even more, because anytime they cluster up, Magnus is there. Magnus is ready. Taking a few hits from the Phantom Lancer, getting forced out. He's gonna know. Nice skewer. Needs to finish off this illusion, though. Kokova roared on up. Trixie gonna do some big damage right here, hitting on RMN instead. Trying to turn things around, but RMN ready to feast. Kokova doing mean damage, but no Aegis Immortal. He gets dropped down. Arrow doing big right-click damage. There is no mana available. He magic wands up. He will be able to feast inside somebody, infest inside someone, and it is gonna be the Dear Lady Korkai. So she's gonna be a doe on the run, try to TP out, and actually they both, couldn't that be more efficient if you, okay, whatever. Not a big deal, not a big deal. Anywho, so Weaver picking up the boots of travels, that's how he was able to jump it in. That's what I was curious about, because I looked down on bottom, and there was an illusion down there and nothing else. So I didn't see Era down there, but that's because he picked up the travels. What you can do with those travels is so powerful. You jump in, Arrow just gets a couple of quick hits on the racks, on the tower, whatever, and then gets recalled right on back. If there's no damage forthcoming, no problem at all. And that just worked out for them really nicely. They were able to put down damage on the bottom racks, but in turn, mouz answers back. mouz gets that kill on the top racks, and it kind of evens things out. Roche is going to be the big thing here. Cheese is up on this Roche. Wraithbands, magic wands. A little bit of clutter here and there, but it's going to be coming down to how quick PAS responds. They have a Desolator on this Roche, and he's dropping too quickly. They don't have the reaction, and they don't even have any wards. The observers from Radiant, they're trying to wait for some kind of gank action, and instead they watch as the Roche falls. And now the Aegis is up on Weaver. Era can do whatever the heck he wants, and it's going to get worse for them. The Manta is up on Weaver. He's going to be looking for a heart, possibly. It's just getting out of hand really, really quickly. That Roche was way too instrumental. The cheese goes to Phantom Lancer, and Trixie has a lot of HP to back that up. 2,500. If they can 100 to 0 him in 2,500, I'd love to see it, but I just don't think so. Trixie, with that much health, he will be able to get that cheese off, and from there, that means he's practically invincible throughout the fight. You're not going to beat him down twice over, even if he doesn't have evasion. Whew, this is turning into an amazing game. Like, this is ridiculous what both teams have been able to accomplish throughout this. Again, back and forth, up and down, comebacks across the board, but it's really on the edge of a knife. Who initiates appropriately? The Magnus needs to get that RP off. If he gets a beautiful RP with the Rubik inside, Fnatic is 100% toast even with the cheese, even with the Aegis, but they're not letting them yet. They're playing such really cutesy games. They're roaming on around. They have boots of travels across the board, and now we see right back on bottom, Era's raring to go, but gonna boots of travels right back. So both of them TPing back, gonna defend their racks here and try to hold the line. The question is whether or not it will be worth it. They are looking at, I'm just going to keep my eye on PAS. He's really the playmaker here, looking for his opportunity, but we just see all these illusions coming on through. Are those stolen somehow? No. I think Enchantress enchanted an illusion and actually was able to use it. Yeah, that's a stolen illusion, but it's bursted down, and now they don't have that option anymore. The pipe comes out, the Illuminate going across, Trixie taking a ton of damage, pops off cheese already, and now PAS taking a lot of damage on the back end from Era. The Roar comes out, they don't want this Magnus to finish up, but he gets the Mechanism, still alive for the moment, can go Scepter on out. Era pops off his time lapse, instead PAS trying to finish him out. Era is such low life, but he kills out the Jakiro. RP on just Trixie. He bought back, but now he's going to get dropped down pretty quickly. No, it's going to be the Aegis from the Weaver to pop off first. Trixie on the run. Era needs to be able to just DPS 2 carries. He can't do it alone. Trixie is back in the action. Armen going to drop quickly. Kokova on the run now. TP. You better not. You better not. Ultra Call for Era. Now they're going in for the mid. They have the Boots of Travels on the Weaver. It might be enough right here. Buybacks. Let's check them out. We have a bunch on the Radiant. Mousesports have a ton available. They have it on the Lifestealer, the Magnus, the Enchantress. They could go right now. They're going to pop off 1, go pop off 2, pop off 3. They're going for it. They need to hold the line against Era, but he just Shookie's on away. Shikuchi too fast, and max movement speed going to help him out. Nice roar coming in from Hani. That Aegis doing so, or sorry, Aghanim's doing so much. Magnus doesn't have that RP. Instead, RMN, nice toggle. He's going to stay able to be bleh. He's going to be able to survive. Kurukai not so lucky. Too much right-click damage coming on through. Or not. He doesn't get the last finish. He doesn't finish it off. Instead, just walking on away. Era popping off time-lapse. Has AC, has Dezo. I thought for sure Kurukai was going to drop. But he survived. He walks away. Now we see this. If he wants to like do something super cheeky, he could bots up to the Crow, but I don't think that's purposeful. Now we see them pushing in on the mid-racks. Melee going to drop down in a moment. No tail. What do you get? Just the Ice Path, very powerful, but not that big of an impact long-term. PAS having to fall back without mana. And now there's only one set of racks left. This is going to be the next 20 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds is going to be it, but RMN gets roared. Too much, he can't infest, can't armlet. Nice stun coming out of oh, it's Alex again, but it's just not enough. No, Kurukai picked up, dropped down with the telekinesis, and that's going to be it. They can't, even with the best RP, they cannot possibly do it. Alex gets dropped, Gems on the ground all over the place, and that's it. Awesome game 1. I can't wait for game 2. This is a best of 3 series, guys. But although PAS finally gets the RP he's been looking for, Kokova just can't do it. Telekinesis up. He didn't pop off the BKB in time. Didn't get the damage output, and now he's getting burned down. Too much armor penetration. Kokova lifestealing like crazy, but it's not enough. There we go. Coming on in. Arrow taking a lot, but he will be able to survive to bring down PAS, and then the Ancient. Good friggin' game. That was amazing. That was such a fun game. That was so cool, back and forth. One last check of the gold graphing experience is gone, but oh my gosh, that was crazy. I knew Fnatic had the late game. I knew they had the potential. And when that Roche came on through, that pretty much sealed the deal. But oh my gosh, if Mouse didn't give them a run for the money. Big RPs, clustering them up over and over. I'm going to call that the stairwell of death now, because Mousesports, with those RPs and that gyrocopter action, completely incinerating Fnatic's line, but they pulled it through long term. The gyrocopter farmed out that Manta style, MKB, BKB, and Satanic. But once they got that last roar on RMN outside the base, they just couldn't hold. The RMN had just popped buyback. He couldn't get back in for another like 90 seconds. Or less than that because it's only level 19. But just wow. That's it. I don't have too much more to say about that one. That was just crazy awesome play. Both teams picking up great items, building up nicely, but it came down to the initiation, and I gotta say Fnatic pulled it out. Awesome game. That's it. And catch you guys in the next game. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be going into game 2 in just a minute.